The slave market on the planet Sylvan bustled with alien merchants and desperate buyers, their voices creating a cacophony of strange dialects and harsh commands. Levi Matthews stood among dozens of other human captives, his military bearing still evident despite the crude leather collar that marked him as property. His eyes scanned the crowd, calculating, searching for any sign of weakness he could exploit. The air smelled of ozone and something metallic that made the humans' noses wrinkle, while the purple sky cast strange shadows across the bazaar. Alien buyers of all shapes and sizes moved between the pens, examining merchandise with cold efficiency. Levi had been here 2 days, and already he'd memorized every vendor's routine, every guard's pattern. "Fresh stock from the border wars," shouted a Vrikian trader, his 4 arms gesturing grandly at the human pens. Strong workers, skilled laborers, some with military training. Levi's jaw tightened. Military training. That's what had gotten him captured in the first place. As a combat medic with Earth's Colonial Defense Force, he'd been caught behind enemy lines during a skirmish with raiders. Instead of killing him, they'd recognized his value and sold him to slavers. A tall figure approached Levi's pen, moving with the predatory grace of a trained warrior. Commander Jax of the Sylvan Guard studied the humans with professional interest, his cat-like eyes narrowing as they fell on Levi. Unlike most Sylvans, who resembled large felines with metallic fur, Jax wore ceremonial armor that gleamed in the alien sunlight. "This one," Jax said, pointing at Levi. "What's his training?" The trader's alien features shifted into what might have been a smile. "Combat medic commander. Former soldier. He has knowledge of xenobiology and field surgery." Jax's pupils contracted to slits. "Perfect." He turned to Levi. "Human, step forward." Levi obeyed, keeping his expression neutral despite the rage burning inside him. He'd promised himself he'd survive this, no matter what it took. "You understand Galactic Standard?" Jax asked. "Yes," Levi replied, his voice steady. "Good. I'm buying you for a specific purpose." Jax's tail twitched, a sign of agitation Levi had learned to recognize. "Our queen is ill. She requires care that our own doctors cannot provide." The trader's eyes widened. Speaking of the queen's illness was usually forbidden, but Commander Jax's authority was absolute. "I'll need full access to medical facilities and information about her condition," Levi said carefully. It was a risk, but if he was to be useful, he needed leverage. Jax studied him for a long moment. "You'll get what you need. But understand this, human, if you fail to help her, if you even think about attempting escape, the collar will activate. The neural inhibitor will turn you into a mindless drone. Do you understand?" Levi's hand unconsciously touched the collar. "I understand." Within the hour, Levi found himself being escorted through the crystalline corridors of the Sylvan Royal Palace. The architecture defied logic. Walls that seemed to breathe, floors that felt almost alive beneath his boots. Commander Jax led him to a wing of the palace he clearly wasn't meant to see. "The queen's condition is known only to her inner circle," Jax explained as they walked. "If word spreads that she's unfit to rule, the vultures will tear our kingdom apart." They reached massive doors guarded by 2 imposing Sylvan warriors. Jax nodded to them, and the doors slid open silently. Inside, the room was a blend of advanced medical technology and ornate royal furnishings. And there, on a bed that looked more like a supportive chamber, lay Queen Aurelia. Levi had seen many things in his military career, but nothing had prepared him for her. Even paralyzed, she radiated power and beauty. Her fur was pure white, marked with intricate patterns of royal purple. Her eyes, when they opened, were the color of deep space, black with swirling stars. "Your Majesty," Jax bowed deeply. "I brought the human combat medic we discussed." Those cosmic eyes fixed on Levi, and he felt as if she could see through to his soul. "You know medicine, human?" "I was a combat medic in Earth's military. I've treated injuries in battlefield conditions and studied xenobiology during my training. Can you help me?" Her voice was weak, but carried undeniable authority. Levi approached carefully, noting how little movement she had. I'll need to examine you and review your medical records. When did this paralysis begin? 3 months ago, she said. It started as numbness in my extremities, then progressed rapidly. Dr. Vexer, the royal physician, entered the room. He was an older Sylvan with graying fur and suspicious eyes. I've tried everything. Our best physicians have examined her. It's a neural degeneration condition, likely genetic. Levi kept his face neutral, but something felt wrong. As he began a preliminary examination under Dr. Vexer's watchful gaze, he noticed subtle signs that didn't match a degenerative condition. Queen Aurelia's muscle tone was still good, her reflexes present but dampened. This felt more like inhibited signals rather than lost ones. Over the next several days, Levi worked tirelessly, studying Sylvan physiology and comparing it to human biology. The similarities were remarkable, suggesting either common ancestry or convergent evolution. He analyzed every medication, every treatment that had been administered. One evening, while Dr. Vexer was away, Levi made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in a sealed container, he found traces of a compound unknown to the official medical records. Using the palace's advanced analysis equipment, he identified it as a neurotoxin, one that specifically targeted spinal nerve clusters in Sylvan physiology. Queen Aurelia wasn't suffering from a genetic condition. She was being poisoned. The chamber was dim when Levi requested a private audience with the queen. She looked at him with exhausted eyes, resignation evident in her features. Your Majesty, I need to tell you something. Levi glanced around, ensuring they were alone. Your condition, it isn't natural. Her eyes sharpened immediately. Explain. You're being poisoned. The medication you've been receiving contains a neurotoxin. It's sophisticated, designed to mimic a degenerative disease. The silence that followed was heavy with implications. Finally, Queen Aurelia spoke. Dr. Vexer, I can't be certain yet, but someone has been systematically sabotaging your health. And you tell me this why? You could have remained silent, completed your work, and been rewarded regardless of the outcome. Levi considered his words carefully. I may be your slave, but I'm not without honor. And truthfully, if you die, my life becomes forfeit as well. We have a mutual interest in your survival. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Help me, human. Help me expose this treachery, and I promise you will be rewarded beyond your imagination. Call me Levi, he said simply. Help me, Levi. Help me reclaim my throne. Their alliance began that night. Levi created a countertoxin using plants and compounds available in the palace gardens. He started with small doses, careful to avoid detection. Meanwhile, they maintained the illusion of her deteriorating condition. The process was painstaking. Each night, after Dr. Vexer's evening rounds, Levi would administer the countertoxin and guide Aurelia through physical therapy. The first signs of improvement came after a week, just a twitch in her tail, but to both of them, it was miraculous. Tell me about Earth, Aurelia whispered one evening as Levi massaged life back in her atrophied muscles. It's different from here, Levi said carefully. No alien skies, no crystalline cities. But the conflicts are the same. Power struggles, territorial disputes, the weak preyed upon by the strong. Is that how you were captured? I made a tactical error. Tried to save my unit when we should have retreated. Got us all killed except me. The guilt in his voice was evident. You sacrificed yourself for your people, Aurelia observed. That's not an error. That's nobility. Nobility doesn't keep you alive in war, Levi replied bitterly. Perhaps not, but it keeps you worth saving. Their conversations became more frequent, ranging from politics to philosophy. Levi learned that Aurelia had ascended to the throne young, after her parents died in an explosion many suspected was orchestrated by their enemies. She'd ruled with strength and wisdom, but had no heirs, making her vulnerable to those who would seize power. Kellen, she mentioned one evening, my most trusted advisor. He's been pushing for a regency council since my condition worsened. Levi filed that information away. Every piece of the conspiracy was coming together. 3 weeks into treatment, Aurelia could now move her fingers and toes. To everyone else, she appeared to be declining, but in their secret sessions, she was fighting her way back to mobility. "There's something you should know," Commander Jax told Levi one morning. "A delegation from the Draconian Empire arrives tomorrow. They're our traditional allies, but they smell weakness," Levi finished. Jax nodded grimly. "If they perceive our queen as permanently disabled, they may attempt to seize our sovereignty through political marriage. Commander Thrax has been eyeing our military resources for years." That night, Levi worked with renewed urgency. The window of opportunity was closing. If Aurelia couldn't demonstrate her fitness to rule soon, the Draconians would move, and any hope of exposing the conspiracy would die with her. The arrival of the Draconian delegation transformed the palace. Commander Thrax was impressive even among his warrior race. Nearly 8 feet tall, with scales that shifted colors. To match his mood, he moved through the halls like a conqueror already. "I request an audience with Queen Aurelia," Thrax announced in the throne room, "to offer the Empire's support in these difficult times." Levi stood at attention beside Queen Aurelia's medical chamber, which had been wheeled into the throne room for the occasion. She lay motionless, her eyes closed, looking even more frail than usual. "The Queen's condition is deteriorating," Kellen spoke for her, his voice carrying false concern. "Perhaps it's time we considered alternative arrangements for her protection." Thrax's scales shifted to a predatory gold. "The Draconian Empire has always honored our alliance with the Sylvan Throne. Should the Queen require support, we stand ready to provide it." Levi caught the coded language. They were circling like sharks, testing the waters. That evening, Levi's worst fears were confirmed. He intercepted a private communication between Dr. Vexer and Commander Thrax. The doctor was providing detailed medical reports, falsified ones, indicating Queen Aurelia's imminent death. "We need to act," Levi told Aurelia that night. "Tomorrow, Kellen will likely propose a formal Regency Council. Once that's in place, they'll have legal grounds to remove you from power." Aurelia had progressed remarkably. She could now move her arms and sit up with support. "What do you suggest?" "We expose them, but we need evidence they can't refute." Working through the night, Levi gathered samples of the doctored medications and accessed Dr. Vexer's private files. He found detailed communications outlining the conspiracy. Dr. Vexer had been paid handsomely by Kellen to slowly poison the Queen. The Draconians had promised Kellen a position of power in the new government they'd establish. As dawn broke, Levi knew they had one chance. "Can you stand? Even for a few minutes?" Aurelia's determination showed in her eyes. "I will do what I must." The throne room, filled with nobility and military leaders for what everyone expected would be the announcement of a Regency Council. Kellen stood ready with his proposition, while Commander Thrax loomed nearby, scales rippling with anticipation. "We gather today to secure the future of our great kingdom," Kellen began. "As you all know, Her Majesty's condition has sadly—" The massive doors to the throne room burst open. Guard Commander Jax entered, followed by Levi, who pushed Queen Aurelia's medical chamber. "I object to these proceedings," Jax announced, his voice carrying authority. Kellen's confusion was evident. "Commander, this isn't—" "I have evidence of treason," Jax continued. "Evidence that will shock this court." Thrax's scales darkened to dangerous black. "What is the meaning of this interruption?" "Levi," Queen Aurelia's voice rang clear, "present our findings." From his position beside her chamber, Levi produced data chips containing their evidence. "Your Majesty has been the victim of a systematic poisoning. Dr. Vexer, at the behest of Advisor Kellen and with the support of Commander Thrax, has been administering a sophisticated neurotoxin designed to paralyze her." Chaos erupted. Dr. Vexer tried to flee but was quickly apprehended by palace guards. Kellen protested his innocence while Thrax demanded proof. "The proof," Queen Aurelia said, her voice stronger now, "is in my recovery." With tremendous effort and Levi's support, Queen Aurelia slowly pushed herself up from the chamber. Guards rushed forward, but she waved them away. Step by agonizing step, supported by the modified medical frame Levi had created, she walked. The throne room fell silent as their queen, who had been paralyzed for months, moved across the floor. Each step cost her, but her determination was unbreakable. This human, she gestured to Levi, this slave who owed me nothing, discovered the plot against my life. While those I trusted conspired with our traditional allies to destroy our sovereignty. Thrax drew his weapon, but Commander Jax was faster. Palace guards surrounded the draconian delegation as evidence of their conspiracy was displayed on holographic screens. "You've declared war," Thrax snarled. "No," Aurelia replied, now seated on her throne with Levi steadying her. "You have. By conspiring against your ally, you've broken our treaty. Commander Jax, escort these traitors from our kingdom. Their empire will learn of their failure." As guards removed Kellen and Dr. Vexer, Queen Aurelia caught Levi's gaze. "You have saved not just my life, but our entire civilization." The aftermath was swift. Kellen was sentenced to exile, while Dr. Vexer faced execution for treason. The draconian delegation fled back to their empire, leaving behind decades of carefully crafted alliance. In the days that followed, as Queen Aurelia continued her recovery, the palace buzzed with speculation about the human hero who had saved their queen. Levi remained by her side, continuing his medical care as she regained strength. "You're quiet today," Aurelia observed, 2 weeks after the throne room confrontation. She could now walk with minimal assistance, though she still tired easily. Levi was adjusting her therapy equipment, just thinking about what comes next. "And what comes next for my physician?" He looked up at her, uncertainty in his eyes. "I assume I'll return to whatever duties you deem appropriate." Aurelia set down the royal seal she'd been examining. "Do you still wish to return to Earth?" The question caught him off guard. I haven't thought about it." "Liar," she said softly. "You think about it every day. I see it in your eyes when you look at the stars." Levi set down his tools. "What do you want me to say? That I've come to care about you? That the thought of being your slave for life doesn't feel like imprisonment anymore?" "I want you to be honest with yourself," she replied. "And with me." The next day, in the throne room before the assembled court, Queen Aurelia made an announcement that would change the course of 2 civilizations. "Levi Matthews," she called him forward, "you have proven yourself not just a healer, but a true guardian of this realm. You have shown that nobility comes not from birth, but from choices." She signaled to Commander Jax, who stepped forward with a ceremonial blade. "Remove your collar." The weight Levi had carried for months fell away with a simple cut. He felt dizzy with the sudden freedom. "But I ask more of you still," Aurelia continued. "I ask you to accept a new burden, to stand beside me not as a slave, not as an advisor, but as an equal, to help forge a new path forward for our peoples." The throne room erupted in whispers. This was unprecedented. "I offer you a choice, Levi Matthews. Return to Earth with our gratitude and compensation befitting a hero, or stay here as my—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "As my consort and co-ruler." The silence was absolute. Even hardened military commanders held their breath. Levi stood speechless, the weight of the decision crushing. Everything he'd ever known was on Earth. His past, his identity, his people. But here, beside this remarkable being, he'd found purpose and something he'd thought lost forever, the ability to make a real difference. "You don't need to decide now," Aurelia said gently. "No," Levi straightened. "I've already decided. I accepted slavery to protect my unit. I risked everything to save you because it was right. And now," he looked around the throne room, then back to her. "Now I choose to stay. Not as a prisoner of duty, but because I believe in what we could build together." The throne room erupted, but Levi heard only Queen Aurelia's response. Then welcome home. In the months that followed, the transformation was remarkable. The Sylvan Kingdom announced an end to all slave trading and opened diplomatic relations with Earth. Levi found himself at the center of a new era, working alongside Aurelia to reshape their society. Their relationship evolved naturally from respect to trust to something deeper. The former slave and the queen became unlikely partners, their bond a symbol of the changes sweeping through Sylvan society. On quiet nights, as Aurelia continued her physical therapy, for her recovery was not complete and might never be, Levi would share stories of Earth while she painted pictures of Sylvan culture. They learned from each other, building bridges between two species that had been enemies for generations. The reward that had left Levi speechless wasn't the riches or titles offered to him, though those came in abundance. It was the freedom to choose his own path, to find love across the stars, and to know that sometimes the greatest rewards come from the choices we make in our darkest moments. As he watched Aurelia work through her exercises, her determination still inspiring him daily, Levi knew he'd found something worth more than freedom itself. He'd found purpose, partnership, and a future he'd never dared imagine. The human who had once been sold as a slave had become a bridge between worlds, and his legacy would echo through the stars for generations to come. In saving a queen, he had saved a kingdom, and in the process, had found a home among the stars he'd only ever dreamed of reaching. Years later, as their children played in gardens that bloomed under alien suns, Levi would sometimes touch the faint scar where his slave collar had been. A reminder not of bondage, but of the moment when one choice changed everything. And Queen Aurelia, fully recovered but forever marked by their shared ordeal, would squeeze his hand and smile. "Still speechless?" she'd ask. "Every day," he'd reply, pulling her close as their children's laughter filled the air. The stars above held infinite possibilities, and together they had claimed their place among them.